bespoke radio for the masses.
Headline edition, July 8, 1947. The Army Air Forces has announced that a flying disc has been found and is now in the possession of the Army.
If the game is rigged, change the game. Game changer.
I occasionally think how quickly our differences worldwide would vanish if we were facing an alien threat from outside this world.
This is Fade to Black with your host, Jimmy Church, on the Game Changer Radio Network and KGRA, the Global Radio Alliance.
I need your help to get to the year 1985.
You're listening to Fade to Black with Jimmy Church on the Game Changer Network.
Yeah, man. How you doing? Fade to Black. Bespoke radio for the masses. Yeah. Today's Tuesday, July 18th. 198 days into the new year. Just 167 days left. We are live from a bunker somewhere in downtown Burbank, California, and I would like to welcome everybody listening all around the world, all across the United States, hither and thither, to and fro, back and forth, up and down, east and west, north and south, far and near. This is Fade to Black for KJCR, the Game Changer Network, and KGRA, the planet. I'm your host, Jimmy Church. What is cracking, everybody? Are you ready? Nothing like a Tuesday in the bunker. That's right. Tonight, continuing our first-time guests week and weeks on the show. Tonight, Rob Potter is here. We're going to discuss the Cobra message, the Galactic Federation of Light, Valiant Thor, and Dr. Fred Bell, and Dr. Frank Stranges. Got it all happening tonight on the show. Get ready. Rob's got his own show. He does this a lot. And it's really cool to have another show host on and somebody that is a contactee like himself and an experiencer and with a message. All of that, right? But I get to turn it around. How cool is that? So that's what we're going to do tonight. Tomorrow night, Bernard Gunther is here. And Thursday night is another Fader night, John Rappaport and his No More Fake Newsroom Live. And then Friday night, I'm going to be over at Coast to Coast. I'll be hosting over there, and my guest is going to be Barry Littleton. Very excited for Barry. That's going to be a great show, followed by Open Lines on Coast. And then Monday, you know what? We'll wait, but I cannot wait until Monday's show, too, as well, and what we have lined up for next week. Holy smokes. Yeah, next week is going to be totally amazing. Great show last night. Mark D'Antonio here, breaking the doors open with that story about the Navy submarine. Caught me dead in my tracks. And last night, we've got to get Mark back on the show here as soon as possible, because one of the things, and that's when you have a live show like this and nothing is staged, there isn't a list of questions here. There's nothing like that. It's just, open, fun conversation. That's what it is. And Mark has got some things to talk about when it comes to parallel worlds and what has been happening. And we didn't do any of that last night. I can't believe that. That's how good that conversation was. That was an excellent show last night. Look forward to having Rob Potter on tonight. And I'm telling you, tomorrow with Bernard, woof, man, what a week. You guys are spoiled. That's all there is to it. And you really, 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 really need to appreciate what Rita manages to put together over here. Just exciting stuff. Okay. So we've got a lot to talk about tonight. Like I said, the Galactic Federation of Light, they have been contacting us for years for some representation on this show. So yeah, finally we're gonna knock that out tonight. Haven't done any Valiant Thor in quite a while. Fred Bell, Dr. Fred Bell. I think the last time we talked about him on this show was probably around the time that he died, and how he died. Very strange circumstances there. So yeah, right. And we're going to be able to do all of that tonight on the show. Okay, so get ready. Follow us on Twitter at JChurchRadio. It's what you want to do. Facebook, YouTube, everything. Go over to our website. Click on those three little buttons right there. You can follow, like, and subscribe. The sandbox is hashtag F2B on Twitter. If you have any questions or comments during the show, hashtag F2BQ. Email is Jimmy at jimmychurchradio.com. I do want to remind everybody that we will be holding our first Fade to Black conference at East City Ranch in the summer of 2018. We're finalizing some things, but that's where we are going to do it. And it looks like, you know what? I don't even want to throw out a tentative date there. When Rita says to me, okay, here we go, here it is, then we'll announce it. But it'll be the summer of 2018. Okay? Very excited. And reminding everybody this Friday, I'm over at Coast to Coast, sitting in for George. Friday night, open lines, and my guest is Barry Littleton. Don't forget to subscribe to our podcast. 690 archive shows right there on our podcast. Apple, Android, all platforms, all apps, just $2 a month. Go to jimmychurchradio.com, click on the podcast banner, or you can become a Fader Not in our membership area. You can go all the way from free to whatever you need, all the way to the Game Changer, where you're going to get autograph hats and T-shirts and the bunker cam and an email and the drawings and everything else that we do here because you're a Fader Not. Okay, so help support the show. Go, what's $2 a month? $2 a month, and you help support the show. How cool is that? Okay, all right. All of our sponsors, Life Change Tea, GetTheTea.com, River Moon Coffee, New Pharma, Studio Dome speakers. All the banners are over on our website. With that, let's get this show cracking. Because today, local Valley boy, System of a Down guitarist, Darren Malakian, is 42 years old. Darren Malakian. Saw a video, it's probably about 2 years ago, last year. They went over, System of a Down, Armenian band from Burbank, heads over to Yerevan in Armenia, plays downtown, and for, I don't know, everybody in the country of Armenia was at that concert, man. It was no joke. The show was absolutely amazing. But how cool is it for a band like that to get that uber famous, and be able to go back to their country like Armenia and play for your relatives, your country people. It was just an amazing concert, and I will never forget that. System of a Down guitarist Darren Malakian today is 42. Back in the 90s, when System of a Down first broke, the beginning of everything, they had staged, I'll never forget this, a live free concert on Hollywood Boulevard, right? Okay, which is, that right there is just a bad idea, right in the middle of the day. And that's just a bad idea. And I forget the circumstances behind it, how many people they were expecting to show up. And I remember at that time, I had heard System of a Down's name a couple of times, but, right, they were just starting out. So anyway, the underground, the fans that they had, the fan base, they came out, and it was a lot of people. Anyway, one thing turned to another, and there was a riot in Hollywood, on Hollywood Boulevard. There's probably video of it somewhere online of what happened that day. So anyway, I turned on the TV, and I'm just goofing around. I was like, live breaking news, riot in Hollywood. System of a Down has canceled their show today, their free concert on Hollywood. I was like, what? And that's it. You go and do that. You do that. You get yourself a riot on Hollywood Boulevard in the middle of the day, and your career is set. System of a Down was on the money. Good for them. You got to watch the video. It was crazy. Absolutely crazy. Somebody will post something here on YouTube in just a minute. Also today, happy birthday to Richard Branson. Today, Richard Branson is 67, and he makes the list not because he's a billionaire, not because he has a really cool island in the Caribbean. No. Richard Branson makes the list because he had the vision to sign the Sex Pistols. And for that, Richard Branson will always be the man. It makes you wonder, too, without the Sex Pistols, would there have been Virgin Megastores, Virgin Airlines, right? Virgin Telephone, Virgin everything. Would all of that, Virgin Galactic, right? Would all of that have happened without the Sex Pistols? And I got to say, maybe not. Happy birthday, Richard Branson. Our dead guy's birthday today is the one and only John Glenn. 1921 to 2016, died at the age of 95. Yeah, he lived a good one. He went full circuit on that. Died at the age of 95. Astronaut, senator, who in 1962 was the first American to orbit the Earth, and in 1998 became the oldest person to go into space. He was the recipient of the Congressional Space Medal of Honor and the Presidential Medal of Freedom. Happy birthday right now, John Glenn. He's orbiting up there somewhere. Yeah, man, you guys got the System of a Down flying, digging the Sex Pistols. If you want to check out what's going on, follow me on Twitter at JChurchRadio. Follow me on Twitter, hashtag F2B, and check out the GIFs that everybody is posting here. Yeah, thank you for that. You guys are on top of your game. You guys are really, really, really on top of your game. All right. On this day in history, OTD. It happened in the year 64. What happened in the year 64? It was the Great Fire of Rome. It broke out and destroyed much of the city on this day in the year 64. And despite the well-known conspiracy theories that I've spoken about right here on this show, there is no evidence that Nero, the Roman emperor at the time, either started the fire or played the violin while it burned. You know the story, Rome's burning. Now, still, he did use the disaster to further his political agenda. Some say he burned it down so he could make room for his palace. Now, Rome burnt down, and he did build his palace over the burnt part of the city. That is true. But there still is no proof. What do you think? Nero was a pretty gnarly dude. Okay, he really was. But there is no proof. I don't know. I lean the other way. Fate or fact? Fate or fact? That was a good one yesterday, but check this one out. Japan's criminal courts have a 99% conviction rate. So, if you're going to commit a crime, don't do it in Japan. Tonight, very special first-time guest with us. Rob Potter is here, and we are going to talk about Cobra, front and center. We have to talk about Valiant Thor and Dr. Frank Stranges, Dr. Fred Bell. Lots of subjects on the table tonight with Mr. Rob Potter. His contact experiences and the future of our planet. We're going to do all of that tonight. Tomorrow night, Bernard Gunther is here. Thursday night's another Fader Night with John Rappaport and his No More Fake Newsroom Live, followed by Open Lines. And then, of course, Friday I'm over at Coast. Now, tonight, very special guest, first-time guest, Rob Potter is here. And we're going to discuss the Cobra message, Valiant Thor, Dr. Fred Bell, Dr. Frank Stranges, and, of course, his contact experiences and the future of our planet. Tomorrow night, Bernard Gunther is here. Thursday night's another Fader Night with John Rappaport and his No More Fake Newsroom Live, followed by Open Lines. The call-in numbers are 323-825-5045 or 323-275-9695. Maybe we'll get around to some phone calls tonight. We'll see about that. We'll do what we can. Email is jimmy@jimmychurchradio.com. You can also follow me on Twitter @jchurchradio. This is Fade to Black. I'm your host, Jimmy Church, on the Game Changer Network and KGRA, The Planet. I'll be right back with our guest, Rob Potter. Stay right there.
You're listening to Jimmy Church, Fade to Black.
Fade to Black will now pause for alien identification.
The station that talks the net. KGRA Radio. When you take the beans from Central America with dashes of Indonesian and African mixed in and then roast it to the dark side of Fade to Black, you create the ultimate brew of fringe. Introducing the Fade to Black blend from Rivermoon Coffee. Yes, Rivermoon's darkest customized roast was created for the love of Fade to Black. The alchemy of masterful roasting and smoking the beans is in every sip of this full-bodied, dark Java. I need my coffee dark, deep, with distinct bittersweet chocolate highlights, just like the bunker. Leaning further into the darkness of the roast is Fade to Black blend from Rivermoon Coffee. Just click on the banner at jimmychurchradio.com and use the promo code F2BBLEND for 15% off of your order today. Go Beckley Teppy.
Hi, folks. Let's wind the clocks back 60 years. Food was different. Food provided health and nutrition, and using supplements was minimal. Unfortunately, now we have chemicals, GMOs, herbicides, and pesticides that can be quite lethal in the name of our food supply and, of course, the ever-loving dollar. Supplementing our diets can be very important to stay healthy. Cleansing from daily intruders to the body might be critical. Live strong and take charge. Log on to getthetea.com. Our herbal tea is a great way to cleanse from intruders. Our supplements is a great way to maintain and improve your health. When your health is not up to par, go to getthetea.com. No GMOs, no fillers, and organic, and very helpful in keeping you at the top of your game. Life is too short to feel, you know what I mean. Stay in the game, at the top of your game with getthetea.com. That's getthetea.com. Again, getthetea.com.
9 out of 10 geneticists agree.
Fade to Black is not your father's radio show on the Game Changer Radio Network and KGRA, The Planet.
Win big with KGRA this summer. Tickets and hotel accommodations to the biggest conferences, autographed books and DVDs, chances to win all-inclusive conference cruises, and private dinners with your favorite KGRA hosts. Click the contest tab at kgraradio.com for your chance to win big this summer. Your contact for the best alternative talk radio on the planet. kgraradio.com.
Hi, this is Rob Reiner from Anvil, and you're listening to JimmyChurchRadio.com.
What's up? I'm Chris. What up? This is Kyle Massey, and you're listening to Jimmy Church Radio.
All right, welcome back, Fade to Black. I'm your host, Jimmy Church. What is cracking, everybody? Very excited. Rob Potter is here with us tonight. And for those of you watching on the bunker cam, yes, I just flashed up some serious GMO snacks that I've been busted with here in the bunker. But you know what? They taste good. You know what I did last night? Last night after the show, we packed up the studio and got home. And I did Oreos, man. I did Oreos, but it was with organic milk. At least I did the organic milk. And I hadn't had an Oreo and a cold glass of milk in what seems like probably a year. And I'm good for another year, but oh man. All right. This week and next week, nothing but first-time guests here on Fade to Black. And we do so many shows. And to be able to seek out and get those out there that have never been on the show before, it's special to me. It's special to you. And tonight we're going to continue that with Rob Potter. I don't know why we've taken so many years to get Rob on the show. He's busy doing his own radio shows and traveling the world and all of that stuff. But we have him here tonight. I'm very excited. Rob also was very close to Dr. Frank Stranges, who wrote Stranger at the Pentagon, one of the great books. He was a personal assistant and good friend of Dr. Fred Bell from the age of 16 until Dr. Bell's death, and he is currently working closely with fellow contactee named Cobra to prepare people for the event. At 22, Rob was invited to the desert by the ascended Master Hilarion via Gabriel Green to meet a teacher. The teacher was one of E.T.'s original Earth military allies. He experienced his first physical contact with 3 witnesses present. Subsequently, Rob met several ETs in person. Rob has done many radio newspaper interviews and travels around the world, sharing the profound aspects of the ongoing process we know as the interplanetary cultural exchange. He continues to share the good news, the spiritual transformation, and the healing of Earth. He is close to the pulse of space family messages to the people of Earth and shares the plan of liberation and offers a positive message of love and faith and action. His website, of course, is thepromiserevealed.com. Those links are over at jimmychurchradio.com. I would like to welcome to the first time to Fade to Black, Rob Potter. Rob, good evening, my friend. How are you?
Good, Jimmy. Thanks for having me on. It's an honor and a pleasure.
Let's get this out of the way first, which is our first-time guest disclaimer, which is, Rob, this is you and I sitting on my couch talking as friends. And where the conversation starts, it starts. Where it ends, but we're going to end as friends. There you go. Are you ready?
I'm ready, brother. Thank you.
Now, you've been doing this for a long time, and I don't know how much you want to get into to Dr. Bell. Well, actually, more about if you want to take it as far as his death, because his death was, I still think, extremely strange, and I would like to get into that. But you met him such a long time ago. And can you take me back what led you to him? I guess is the question. Were you having contact experiences before Dr. Bell?
No, and I'm like a junior level contactee, although I have had I've met ETs in person and stuff. Story goes, I was very into metaphysics and into pyramids and spiritual information in high school. And I was talking with someone, and a friend of mine says, "Oh, you're into pyramids? I know the Pyramid Man." And I was like, "The Pyramid Man? Well, let me get to know him too." And I went up to his house, and he was out, but he came in shortly afterwards with his first 50 gold pyramids that he ever made. And the story goes, he had a very powerful childhood, and he has a lineage of scientists. His great uncle invented the telephone, and his father invented the automatic transmission and the alternator for Henry Ford. Fast forward to 15, he is invited to go to the University of Michigan to study the shockwave of the atomic bomb because he's such a genius.
Right.
The military grabs him at his day one of 17th birthday, and they basically conscripted him, which was technically illegal, but they took him out to UC Santa Barbara, where he got a PhD in physics. And he learned a lot at the University of Michigan. They had a linear collider there, and he saw a Wilson cloud chamber and got a lot of ideas. So the military trains him from 18 to, I think he was 21 or something, and he had been trained in the very strong and most powerful radar at the time, and he was in charge of the entire electronic maintenance of this radar set. It was at Point Reyes, California, which is the farthest westernmost looking point except for Alaska and Hawaii. And they were observing UFOs coming in during the Cuban Missile Crisis. Yeah, I guess he was 20 then. So, yeah, he was born in 43. So, Cuban Missile Crisis, 63, and they're burning the DDS 332, the standard UFO reports. And he kind of gets uppity and go, you know, everyone kind of had an attitude with him because he's 20 years old and he's the boss of the entire, you know, radar set, technically speaking.
Right, right.
And at 20, and he's a triple Leo with, you know, an attitude rising anyway. And so they finally set him up and they go, he was complaining again. They said, people have a right to know. And he was spitting out codes about transparency. And they said, they said, Bell, have you seen a UFO? And he goes, you know, we all have. And so they brought in the guys with the white suits. They put him in a straitjacket and took him to the crazy farm there for the base. And then he said, look, tell him I want an honorable discharge and we'll move on. And he did. And he ended up going to meet an Indian guru who had an ashram on Haight and Waller. And actually, all of the people that followed this guy, they called him Father, went to Haight-Ashbury. This was the love power teacher guru who said, hey, why not have music festivals in the park? The whole hippie movement, Haight and Ashbury, was from this teacher who was spreading a lot of high energy information. So Fred learned from him, and I'll never forget, Fred said, I learned more from this guy than all my science teachers, and he never spoke a word. Well, he spoke, but when I met him, he was older, and I never heard the guy talk. He just smiled and laughed.
Wow.
But from there, Fred ended up working on the Saturn, Gemini, and Apollo missions with under, and I don't know the order, but JPL, Rockwell, and directly with NASA at one point. And he told me, you know, there's a little thing there. I've said in other radio shows, I won't go into it, but he complained about shoddy wiring, got fired, and then the guys died on the Cape. They came back on their knees asking him to run the protocols for checkout. He took his check and left and went into the private sector after NASA. But he told me at the Long Beach hangar when he was working at, I want to say JPL, but a little probe would come in at the end of every day. A spaceship would like hang above the hangar, and a little probe would come out from it and circle all of the modules that they're working on. So he was familiar with the UFOs. And after he ended up his Indian teacher, he was handed off to a Tibetan adept. Some people might know him from the Great Red Brotherhood teachings. His name was Dwal Kul. And then he actually handed them off to the Pleiadians. And that's about the time I met him. He was having contacts with a Billy Meyer person named Semyasi. And we were in touch with Colonel Wendell Stevens. So I'm like, at 17 years old, I'm voraciously reading Billy Meyer's contact notes, hot off the press. As soon as Stevens gets them, he sends them to us. So I was getting this information on the Pleiadians in 74 and 5. So I had an early introduction. And Fred was a profound man and had a lot of information on pyramids. He wrote a brilliant book called Rays of Truth and Crystals of Light.
Now, this was at his famous house in Laguna?
Oh, yeah.
And so in 1975, Dr. Fred Bell's house in Laguna Beach must have been the place to be, no doubt, right?
Well, yeah, it was amazing. We started out with these pyramids, and the Pleiadians were giving him different designs, and I would build them. He he'd give me a jig and explain what we're doing, and I was making these pyramid systems. And the other thing that was very powerful that they got us into was crystals and lasers.
Right.
I was shooting lasers into crystals in like 1974, 75. It's unheard of. He actually had me make, and I'm no electrician, but he made it real simple. He bought all the schematics and bought the pieces, and this is before. There's probably solid state, but this was a breadboard. I was just building it. I put in the fuses, and we built this laser system, and it had 4 different settings. And I go, who are these for? What is this? It had alpha, beta, delta, and I'm trying to think another one, but he said, I'm sending these out to people around the world. We're going to initiate laser healing. So we sent one to Germany. We sent one to MIT. We sent one to Stanford. We sent one to Germany or to Japan. He knew the Honda people from his dad contacts, and they knew him. And he would work as consulting in some advanced technologies for airlines as well as Navy. I remember he had a Navy brigadier captain or whatever, brigadier admiral would come to the house, and he's in charge of 10,000 men and a aircraft carrier. And the guys were getting sick below deck, so Fred created a negative ionization machine that I built a bunch of, and they put them in these aircraft carriers. And I think the Navy duplicated the technology so that the electrostatic charge beneath the water would be rectified by this electronic air purification, because the ionization affects the moods. So he was very powerful in giving this information about lasers. And now everyone has lasers for healing your knees and stuff. And then also air purification. We started air purification back in the mid 70s as well, and everyone picked up on it. But that's part of the life force and pyramid technology. So he was a bundle of information. That book goes into the science of time travel, mathematics, how it can do it. And he was always gathering new information from the Pleiadians, and eventually the Pleiadians handed him off to the Andromedans. So I used to have telepathic communication, or he did, with the Andromedans. I could ask questions, and the information that was coming through, he would give me some quotes of some of the teachings he had, and they were mouthfuls of metaphysical information in regards to the evolution of mankind and our past history. So this is a modern day version of contact, which has been going on the planet for, I can say hundreds of thousands of years. But as you know from the Muhammad Accords, and Corey's, we've kind of been out of the loop and a quarantine situation for almost 30,000 years. So it's a complex political situation, but I'd like to lend a calm voice of assurance to those people who are worried about different things. Nothing's going to happen. This plan will go forward. The different Super Federation 40 groups and the benevolent extraterrestrial forces will see to it that this planet survives. Now, people die every day, and there's maybe some earth changes that take place mildly, but the intent is for mankind to awaken from our slumber, so to speak, and to learn who we are, where we came from, what our purpose in life is, and the true history of the earth will be revealed to us.
And and Fred was part of that message too. And I remember, and you can help me out here. You were probably there. I remember years ago him telling a story, and it just had me so captivated. I was riveted. Telling a story about him firing up some type of generator in his backyard and knocking out the power for blocks in both directions, right? Were you there for that? And was he really that kind of inventor that was just up there and he knew he had the mad genius and he was stepping outside of the box, but he was up there building these things. Were you there to see some of this stuff go down?
Yeah, I actually built that system in his house, and I still build those systems. But what this was the Pleiadians were teaching us about scalar wave technology, which is utilizing pyramids, gold-plated pyramids, in different what we called pyramidal arrays of energy, and we connect them to Tesla coils. And when you do that, you create a vortex and a portal. Literally, you create an artificial time warp zone, and with your disciplined thoughts, you can actually aid in manifestation. And that was the reason the Pleiadians gave it to us. They wanted these systems to be built and people to get inside them and to start to work with their subtle consciousness fields, excuse me, because it amplifies thought forms. Crystals amplify thought forms. And Semyasi said that the quartz crystal is the perfect synthesis of spirit and matter in zero time. Now you take a pyramid, and I'll give you the scientific definition of pyramid. It's progressive energy transfer through geometric focusing and dynamic electrical amplification over a measured plane of coordinates. So we were creating these systems. We'd hook up a Tesla coil. We had crystals all over the place. We'd shoot lasers in there. And what this technology does is this allows you to think prayer and peaceful thoughts for healing the planet. And one person in this technically created system will actually be like 1,000-fold. So they were hoping we could get this like in rock concert type things where people could be focused and on positive healing energy, or, well, you know, maybe something like Contact in the Desert and stuff like that, and it would happen. Now in Germany, in Garmisch-Partenkirchen, we did a UFO conference there with a guy named Michael Haserman, who's quite famous in Germany back in the day. And Semyasi's ship came over the building when Fred was playing the music that was inspired by the spaceship recording sound of the spaceship. And they cordoned off the town in Germany, and we have lots of stories like that. So Fred has had the UFOs confirmed by appearing when he speaks or in different locations, like in Aspen, Colorado. They appeared over Bell's Peak 2 days before he was to speak. And of course, it went from 40 people listening to there were over 200 people. He was always, he's different than some people. He had his own technique of revealing, like, he wouldn't talk about like how he met her, what she looked like, what the inside of the ship was, what was going on. All he would do was say, I got this from the Pleiadians, and he would just explain the technology.
Right.
He left all this stuff out, and he was told to keep a lot of this stuff secret. Like everything that the Cobra talks about, the archons and the mind control grid, you know, he shared some of that with me, but the extent of it was a real hot potato and could get you in deep trouble at that point in time in the 70s. So Fred was a great mentor and a guide, and my experiences there, I had a lot of out-of-body experiences in the 70s. He would call me up. I was a waiter and a lifeguard, and after he'd call me up like 11, and he'd say, the temple's humming, you better get up here.
Right.
And I'd get up there. I wouldn't even, I'd take off my shoes. I'd light incense. He had 3 levels. So I'd go to the 4 corners of each level and light incense, and I'd sit down in the pyramid system and do pranayama and certain breathing techniques. And then next thing I know, I'd be taken out of my body. And it was very hard to integrate those words, and he wouldn't talk about it.
Well, I wanted to ask you this before we hit this break. We've got about 4 minutes. Yeah. It turns out that apparently he had a CIA handler. You know where I'm going with this. Did you, up to his death, did he ever mention the CIA or any connections back to Washington? Did he ever talk about that with you?
Yeah, well, he didn't have a CIA handler. Fred could exaggerate like nobody's business, but with what he really had experienced and what he talked about, it was no exaggeration. I know the guy, and I'm just going to call him John M., but he used to come all the time, and this guy was a patriot. He worked, and during Reagan administration, he would go into Syria and shoot a laser, and they'd blow things up, and he had go to Area 51. He lived around Vegas, and he told me, like there's a water tower, you go there's an underground train, and you go to Area 51. He had met ETs, and they telepath to him. The nice ET said, "Look, I'm no threat to you." And he, telepathically said to the ET back, he says, "Well, I'm no threat to you." Basically, he's an underling and wasn't in control because unfortunately, the government saw a lot of ETs as hostile. Even good guys were taken, and there's a lot of stories there that aren't really so friendly.
Right.
But John was a good guy, and I knew him, since I was 20 until Fred's death. And I will have to say, if we can go into Fred's death real quick here, but Fred was under a lot of pressure to keep this secret, and he was able to bring out some of his stuff. In the end, he was trying to develop this very advanced healing technology, which utilizes sound, light, and color by reading your aura and giving you a feedback of an external sound and a cathode ray tube array of noble gases. And so you would read your aura, give you the proper balance to strengthen you I call them ketones, and you would lie in a pH balanced tub, which is what the Great Pyramid chamber was. It wasn't a sarcophagus. It was actually filled with pH water, and initiates would go in there, and there would be an activation to amp up the life force in the physical form to connect with the soul. So you have a firm connection. It's like an initiation chamber. And so Fred was trying to develop that. It's advanced healing. And he, all I want to say, all good things. He was drinking a little bit, and he wasn't on the best diet. So I'm not really sure they took him out because he wasn't telling that much. He could have come forward, but he didn't. Everything was very secret with him. He never violated "don't talk about that" protocol.
Right. So it did seem a little suspicious, though, and it was the timing of it. And so what you're saying now is you just think it just happened, and it was natural, and that he wasn't taken out.
Maybe, I'm not sure. I haven't seen any evidence. It certainly looks suspicious there, but I don't know. Fred was kind of protected from a lot of things. There were times he went to Dulce, New Mexico, and the Greys were flying over. This is back in the Grey days in the mid 80s, and lots of stuff going on there. And I could go into stories. I remember one time we were driving across country, and we barely leave Los Angeles, and he says, "Rob, pull off here." And I'm thinking, what? Fred never pulls off. We pulled off the road, and he had telepathically made an arrangement to meet a Pleiadian spaceship in the desert near Edwards. And he goes, I go, what are we doing here? He goes, why don't you go to sleep? And I just dropped like a sack of potatoes.
Okay, right there. Okay, Rob, we got to take a break. Let's do it right there. We'll pick it up, the asleep like a sack of potatoes. We'll pick that up right after this short break. Our guest tonight, Rob Potter. I'm your host, Jimmy Church. This is Fade to Black. More with Robert after this break. Stay with us.
This is Fade to Black with Jimmy Church on the Game Changer Radio Network and KGRA, the Global Radio Alliance.
This is KGRA Digital Broadcasting Station, Salt Lake City, Utah, Van Buren, Arkansas.
Hello, I'm Katie and you're listening to my main man, Jimmy Church, on jimmychurchradio.com.
Hi, this is Ray Hobbs here, repping the planet, and you're listening to my good friend, Jimmy Church, Fade to Black, on the Game Changer Network and the KGRA Digital Broadcast Station.
This is Toby Kebbell. You're listening to jimmychurchradio.com. Don't hurt me, Jimmy. I'm only little.
Hey, I'm Adrian Grenier.
And this is Ari Gold.
We're the Honey Brothers. We are of the Honey Brothers. Hey, I'm Adrian Grenier.
And I'm Ari Gold.
We're the Honey Brothers.
And you're listening to Jimmy Church.
The Revolution.
Ancient Life Oil. Life-changing. The real oil. CBD is truly ancient life oil from the source. This oil has no psychoactive effect and is also legal in all 50 states. When you're healthy, you're happy. The truth about this wonderful plant is that it wants to give back to mankind life, longevity, and happiness. Ancient Life Oil are golden grade, all organic, non-GMO, and infused with high-quality liquid coconut oil. It's simple. Just go to ancientlifeoil.com today. That's ancientlifeoil.com. The best, purest, organic, and non-GMO CBD in the world. Go Beckley Tappy. The statements made regarding these products have not been evaluated by the Food and Drug Administration. These products are not intended to diagnose, treat, cure, or prevent any disease. Please consult your healthcare professional about potential interactions or other possible complications before using any product. What's up, Fadernauts? Studio Dome loves Fade to Black and the F2B audience so much that they have put together the ultimate stereo Bluetooth system. They've done it just for you. Man, check this out. The Studio Dome SBB2 stereo system is here. It's featuring two Studio Boombox 2 SBB2 wireless Bluetooth speakers, packed in its own custom hard shell case. This Studio Dome system features the very latest in stereo Bluetooth technology. The two full-range boomboxes are in true wireless stereo. You've got to hear this. It's amazing. It's just $129 and use the promo code JCRTWS and you'll also get free shipping. It's simple. Just go to jimmychurchradio.com, click on the Studio Dome banner. Go Beckley Tappy.
This is Micah Hanks of the Gralien Report, and you're listening to Jimmy Church on Fade to Black, across the globe on the Game Changer Radio Network and the one and only KGRA Radio, The Planet.
Welcome back, Fade to Black. I'm your host, Jimmy Church, on the Game Changer Network and KGRA, The Planet. Follow me on Twitter at JChurchRadio. Hashtag F2B is the sandbox. Twitter's jumping tonight. And, of course, there are all of the chat rooms over at Spreaker and KGRA. If 140 characters isn't your style, we have every way to stay interactive and live during the show tonight. Our guest is Rob Potter. And right before the break, Rob, you're driving with Fred Bell. You're heading out towards Edwards Air Force Base. So I assume you're in the desert. and he makes you fall asleep. Boom. Did he snap his fingers?
No. Actually, we were headed to New York to the first Whole Life Expo with a friend of ours named Alan Goldman, the precursor to the Conscious Life and whatever.
Right.
We started off with the National Health Federation with people like Viktoras Kovinskis and Pat Flanagan, and Sean David Morton was there, and Fred, and we used to sell the pyramids and the various products at the booth, and we're headed out there, and we just happened to be going through there. Now, it comes back, and I found out later that she had landed and taken him for a ride and let him actually pilot the ship. Now, another story like this with Fred was in the alignment of 1982. Everyone thought, big changes when all the planets line up. And I said, what's going to happen? Fred says, well, that's just the planets will have a pull on our endocrine glands, which will align our thoughts and feelings in a good way. So the science of astrology is intimately associated with the movement of the planets. It's not mystical or dark magic. It's a science of vibration and alignment and attunement to the endocrine glands, which secrete hormones and cause our feelings. So the idea is to balance our thoughts and feelings, but there's a lot of things jamming that frequency. So we're up on his deck. We had shot the lasers all night, and we're standing out there, and it's just me and him. We've had a lot of these nights like this, and his wife and kids would be asleep, whichever wife or kids happened to be in his life at the time. And I knew him from 16 all the way through, the 4 wives and girlfriends and the kids. And so I have probably one of the broadest overviews of his life and work, but I remember he was standing there, and I could see behind him, like flashing in and out, Pleiadian beam ship, the old style, not the Variation 3, not the birth take ship or the other time travel one. The basic old Pleiadian ship came down behind his head, and it shot up really quick. And I was about in the second, I was like, did I see that? And it came down and it did it again right behind his head. And I was going to say something to him. And he looked at me like, don't say a word, just observe. And it did it 4 or 5 times. And what that did was it purified the air in Los Angeles for 2 weeks. I could see almost Santa Barbara Island so much. So this lets you know that they actually, all of our pollution and all of our ignorance, there's a technology. The ships could go up and down in our atmosphere and clean it up for us. And I said, well, why don't they do that? And he says, well, think about it. And so I thought, well, if the kid makes his room dirty, you don't come up and clean the kid's room, he'll never learn. As well as the hostile forces that, like that type of degradation to our nature. So I had experiences like that with him. Let me say another one. He was supposed to speak in Canada, and he came down with the flu. And he came back and asked me if I'd go up and talk. So I said, okay. So I get up there, and they were looking for him, and they confiscated a lot of the pyramids and stuff. And I had a radio show. So I get on the radio show, and I start talking about negative ions and pyramids and healing and this stuff. And this government agent comes on and starts poo-pooing this stuff. And then the guy goes to break, and he gets a phone call. And he said, they told me that you can't speak and they don't want you on the air. He says, I've never had a censored radio interview. He says, wow. And I said, well, I was surprised too. And they basically let us say where I was speaking. And this is in Edmonton, Alberta, Canada, where the big glass pyramid is. And we get to the place, and guess what? Only one block had lost its electricity, and it was the building that we were in. And there was about 200 people there, and we had to cancel it, but some people decided to go to dinner. And then I meet this guy named James. And he goes, and he's kind of a tall guy, blonde hair, very little hair on his skin, and his arms were like marble. I could see into the skin almost. And I got a telepathic hit. This guy's special. He's an ET. And so we had dinner, and I sat him next to me, and I kept nodding, and telepathically pinging's going off. And the lady was very sweet who had paid for everything, and it kind of didn't work out because we were censored. The thing was canceled by a suspicious electrical outage in one square block of the building where we're at. And I got my first kind of taste of what was happening there. So I invited James back to my room. So we finally get into my room. I had a nice room on like the 15th floor or something, nice suite. And so I finally dropped all pretense. And I said, "Hey, James, so where are you from?" And he smiled sheepishly. He walked to the window. He pulled back the curtain. He looked up into the stars, and he looked at me, and he says, "Let's just say we're kindred spirits."
Wow.
And now Fred told me later, "Oh, you met James." And James was from the Pleiades, and Fred had a poem from him when he left, but James was very scared for his life. He was working at Area 51 and other things with the government because they wanted to develop good technology so that when we move into this new transition, when the curtain comes down and the rest of the world wakes up to what's really happening, that we're not alone, never have been, and never will be alone, we'll be ready. And Fred said James was always very kind of paranoid and worried about, if they're going to kill him or take him out. I said, "Doesn't he have protection?" And he goes, and he said, "Yes, sort of." I said, "Well, what do you do about the food here?" And he told me the same thing that Dr. Frank told me later, which verifies to me that this is true. He says, "Well, it's like a spiral pill. It's a little white pill, and he takes it before, and it supposedly neutralizes the food." And he was living at the Habsburgs. Now, Margaret Habsburg, this is, let me think, this is 85, 86, and he said she had something like, $443 billion or something. And she was scared to death. And she had not only Pleiadians, but Greys and other ETs living in this giant estate. And I'm not sure if it was back east. It might have been, but James said that and these old rich people like to have really old furniture, fancy, very expensive, right?
Right.
Louis XIV had it in his living room. So James is very sensitive, and this may explain for your guests so they know you have a ghost apparition. It usually takes place in an older home with older furniture because the human proteins that store in there after 100 years create an ectoplasm that lost spirits or waifs can use to manifest and knock on doors, or, if they're malevolent, to manifest things as well. So James said that he didn't like the vibe in there, and he said it kind of had an auric stench. So he would take the mattress out onto the deck, and we we sell these larger pyramids that he put over his bed. So that's kind of an interesting thing. Like, I don't find out about these things till later exactly what happened. He wouldn't talk about these things quite openly, but amazing character. If I could, we had mentioned on my website, folks, I'd like to offer all the listeners of Jimmy Church's radio show here, I have a free book, 2 free books on my website. One is about a guy named Alexander Putney, and you'll see a picture of George Bush Sr. with Reinhard Gehlen, Joseph Mengele, Martin Bormann in 1938 when he was like 18 or 19, and it's called Veil of Invisibility. You can download that for free. I also have another free book there. Go under products to the bottom at books, go to the books, pick on the free books, download them, by Inga Swan, who the military had remote view the moon in the early 70s. And that's an interesting story. But read that book. Those are for free. And I hope you enjoy those. And that's my gift to your listeners, Jimmy, on thepromiserevealed.com.
Yeah, thank you for that, man. And that's really cool. And I really appreciate that. All of you Fadernauts, just click on the link right there at jimmychurchradio.com. Head over to The Promise Revealed and get yourself those downloads courtesy of Rob. Thank you for that. While you were just speaking there, I just got an email in real time about Dr. Bell. And going back to this, it says, Jimmy, in Jesse Ventura's Conspiracy Theory Show, Season 3, Episode 2, the show begins with Jesse meeting Fred Bell secretly in a parking garage where Dr. Bell explains the death ray technology. When asked by Jesse how he knew about this technology, Dr. Bell stated, I helped develop it. Dr. Bell ended up dead 2 days after the interview while still in town. Coincidence? Probably not. That's from one of the Fadernauts. I didn't want to bring this up, but I remember.
It's okay.
Yeah, I remember hearing all of this at that time, and I jumped into. I might have even seen the clip of Jesse Ventura and trying to reach the CIA or something on the phone about this whole thing. Do you did he mention to you about any development of a death ray or that technology?
Well, let me tell you a story, and we can probably move on with from Fred.
Yeah,
lots of new stuff here. But I was sitting in his living room one day, and his second daughter, Alana, was in diapers, and he's eating like cereal, and the phone calls on. He goes, hello, and he goes, hold on a second, Alan. And he pushes a button. He put him on speakerphone, and he wanted me to hear it because he called me the witness and a lot of things. And so Alan Holt, who built the lunar liftoff module, said, Fred, we'd like you to come to downtown Los Angeles. We're having a Star Wars scientist meeting, and I'm working with Reagan, and we definitely would like to have you on that. And Fred said something about NASA in the old days and how you doing, and he says, Alan, I don't do that anymore. Now, Alan built that liftoff module, which works pretty much in a vacuum. There is a light atmosphere on the moon, but it doesn't. So that was one thing. Now, when he left NASA, he realized there was a very advanced oscilloscope in Japan. So Fred bought the United States rights, and he was head of he said his company was worth $25 million at one point, and he was going around to all the underground bases which were in development back in the late 60s, and they would bring him in to test all of their equipment. So he had an advanced oscilloscope, and I think for 5 years he was running underground bases here and there, and he was an expert in lasers and optics. And in one of his jobs was when the Soyuz and the American docking took place. So he was very involved in precision time clock and measurements. So where those two spaceships or space modules could go leave atmosphere and meet exactly, and then they guide them into the last few seconds and lock and shake hands. And the Pleiadians were actually there watching that. And Billy Meyer was in a cloaked spaceship when that happened. But Fred helped develop that guidance. So he had very high chops. And I remember him getting one of those very advanced printers in the late 80s. That was just so complicated with so many moving parts. The guy came out 3 times, couldn't fix it. And Fred goes, Rob, come here. He goes, get up here. I get up there. And he pulled the thing apart himself with his toolkit. And I can't imagine how many screws and parts were moving. And he fixed the thing without a book. I mean, he was just a genius that way. Mechanical engineer. I gave his horoscope to every person who saw his horoscope. Said, this guy's a physicist. He's got laser focus. His mercury is off the chart. He's a genius. So, and a lot of the the show was a little staged there. You know, he met Jesse. I'm sure he met Jesse. It wasn't like me, the parking garage. He just did that was a little bit of theater. But Jesse was revealing a lot of stuff, and they wouldn't allow it to be published. They told the cable stations, if you publish this, you're in trouble. You can't do it. So it never got published. But I love Fred Bell. I'm carrying on his legacy with his products the best I can, and sharing the information about pyramids and stuff. And I've had some dreams with him when I was in Egypt and stuff, and not as often as I'd like, but
yeah, I want to talk a little bit about Egypt too. I'm holding up my Shungite pyramid to everybody here in the camera for the bunker cam. I've got so many pyramids around here, and there's nothing like Egypt, and we'll jump into that. You mentioned Dr. Frank just a bit ago. How did you meet Frank Stranges?
Well, back in 1979, when Fred started talking about pyramids, I was into spiritual stuff like the Babaji and the Yogananda and meditation. And I actually felt that the technology in the world is a mess and we should get back to like Native Americans and that kind of stuff.
Right.
And Fred starts talking about UFOs, and I met this guy named Michael Elysian, who's an interesting psychic kind of guy, and was very familiar with the Space Brotherhood. And he lived at my house for a month, and I became pretty much an expert in understanding. He introduced me to Omnek tape in 78 or 79. And that's a lady from Venus that Wendell Stevens bought out, who I have had at one of my conferences. Just a pure, sweet, loving woman. And taught me a lot of stuff. And we were at some thing, and I saw Dr. Frank Stranges with a guy named Daniel Fry, who worked at White Sands, New Mexico. And these were some of the original contactees in the modern-day extraterrestrial push. They had spoken to the governments in 1956 when Valiant Thor landed at the Pentagon and offered help in science, technology, transportation, free energy, replicators, the whole 9 yards. And Eisenhower and Nixon came running in to shake his hand, said, well, I have to talk with my advisors. Wait a minute, you're Ike, the most powerful general and the leader of the free world, and you have to ask people? So basically, he took it to the cabal, or the money people, and they said their excuse after 3 years when they rejected this offer was it would destroy the economic system. So they went into a deal with the Greys, which or Truman had already kind of done that, but they went into a deal with the Greys who promised them technology. And, of course, the Greys were telling the same things to the Russians, and they had already been working with the Nazis for, that was 56. So they were already working with the Nazis for 10 or 15 years anyway. So all of this stuff gets revealed to us later, and we don't really understand all of this back in the day with the Greys and the Revelation. Fred could have explained it, but he never talked about that kind of stuff. So it's a interesting phenomenon to realize that all the world governments turned them down because they were beholden to this world debt slavery system that has hidden the technologies. And people, I want you to realize when you're in traffic in your little car, and when you pay your electric bill and there's an electric shortage, it's all contrived. It has been for a long, long time. And unfortunately, the average person has not looked deep enough or far enough. For them, it's a, quote, conspiracy theory. Well, it's actually a criminal activity of the people who are responsible, that have the information, have hidden it from us, have stolen our money, and misused public funds for a development of secret programs to only benefit themselves, and the rest of us literally can be depopulated. They have an Agenda 21 that was brought out in the Global 2000 report. back in the day, and that was in the 80s or 90s. And the Palladium said, "Go get the report," and it just talking about neutering people and the third world and just a lot of stuff that's very unethical. And we see that today continuing full speed. And it's good for people to be aware of this and to shine the light on the mold and bacteria that this exists. But I want to give the positive news. We are so locked into our mind and so freaked out in our daily life. If we can just shake our head and look up, there's such a bright future for us. We can break away from this negativity, this ignorance. And if you think about it, you become fearful because so many people aren't acknowledging what's going on. And we're not living in a sustainable society. We are destroying the water. You got the fracking. You got the DAPL pipeline. I mean, all of these corrupt situations. You have electromagnetic mind control through ELF, HARP, and directed energy weapons, microwave, cell phones, Gwen towers, and Cobra, of course, talks about the morphogenic chambers. But I should get back to Frank. I saw him there and had always been interested but never followed him. And I think it was in 2003, I got on and joined his inner circle group. And his information, the way he talked about Valiant Thor, was always so honest and forthright. And when I met him at the Inner Circle meeting in Las Vegas, he was so wonderful, so open, so loving, so caring, so genuine. And all he shared was with the teachings, very positive, beautiful spiritual teachings from the Venusians. And one of them was Spacecraft Over Earth that talks about the 12 ships from Venus that are over the Earth. And each ship has 2 sister ships that hang in the astral plane, and they guard those ships, and nothing could ever harm them. The government has tried to find them, and they cannot, with any technology, find them. And so the story goes is he met Valiant Thor while giving a talk about Valiant Thor in 1956. And a woman came up to him after the meeting. It was a black woman who worked in the Pentagon. She's passed away. We can say her name now, Nancy Warren. And she said, "Dr. Strange," and he's like signing his books called Saucerama. Now realize he used to be a Secret Service agent chasing paper hangers. So, which, I'm sorry, folks, is money, counterfeit money. And he was a preacher. He had a real biblical, type of talk and spiritual. He's very into, the message of Jesus and the whole Bible thing, which I kind of was not into at the time. And basically, I kind of listened to him with, a semi-skeptical ear. But he met Valiant Thor, and the woman says, "Do you know how to take orders?" And he said, "Yes." She goes, "Be outside your hotel at 8 a.m. He goes, "I'm at," he says, "I know." So she shows up. It's a very cold day. They get to the Pentagon, and they're getting in line. And she goes, "Just do as I do." And he goes, "What do you mean? I don't have a pass. Everyone has a pass." "Just do as I do." So they opened up his coat. He went through 4 levels of security, flashing it. And they have a Jedi mind trick called transimagery. And he told me he was in the White House during Jimmy Carter with another of the commander's people in that famous picture at Howard Menger's place in High Bridge, New Jersey, and his name is Don. And he was in the White House, and Jimmy Carter came up to him and looked at his lapel, and he said, "Oh, State Department, huh?" And he said he didn't have anything on his on his collar, so he was in there, and they were hobnobbing in the White House. So they kind of come and go as where they want. I'll also tell some other cool stories that Dr. Frank didn't tell a lot of people, but they were for the Inner Circle members and stuff like that. But
well, we'll pick that up right after the break. That's a good point.
Okay, another break. All right.
Yeah. We got to do it, man. Got to pay the bills, Rob. You know the drill. Our guest tonight, Rob Potter. This is Fade to Black. I'm your host, Jimmy Church, on the Game Changer Network and KGRA, The Planet. We'll be right back.
Way out here, we listen to Jimmy Church.
You're listening to Fade to Black.
Always on the edge of the hottest alternative talk. Jimmy Church with Fade to Black. KGRARadio.com.
¿Qué tal, mis amigos? Yo soy Mario Carson, el tiburón, y los invito para que escuchen a mi buen amigo Jimmy Church Radio. ¡Claro que sí!
Hello, Fadernauts. This is Jimmy Church, and I'm introducing New Pharma, a company whose products are based on science. Human function based on the endocannabinoid system, or ECS. New Pharma firmly believes in this science, and their research indicates that support of the ECS provides the beneficial effects for a healthy lifestyle. New Pharma's science includes relief capsules for pain relief, sleep capsules, which are natural support for occasional sleeplessness. Foundation is support for your ECS, and Fit capsules support your active lifestyle. Just click on the banner at jimmychurchradio.com and use the promo code F2B for a 33% discount on all of their products. Or visit newpharma.com for all of the knowledge on the science. That's GNUpharma.com. Go back, Lee Tappy.
Do you worry a lot? If you're forgetful, nervous, moody, or overwhelmed, chances are you're not protecting yourself from the ravaging effects of stress and anxiety. No matter the cause, ongoing stress and elevated levels of the stress hormone cortisol can rob your memory, your health, your quality of life, and your future. Now you can combat the effects of stress and anxiety while improving your memory and recall at the same time with the dietary supplement Calm and Clever. Studies show that the ingredients in Calm and Clever reduce cortisol by as much as 30% in as little as 1 to 2 weeks and increase your ability to recall facts, names, and numbers in 4 to 12 weeks. Calm and Clever was created by scientist Kurt Hendricks, a principal investigator in 2 NIH-funded studies on Alzheimer's disease. Try Calm and Clever for 2 months. You'll feel the difference. Call 1-800-758-8746 or go to calmandclever.com.
You listen to us, and we listen to you. And so does the CIA. KGRARadio.com.
Hi, folks. CBD is the home run hitter for health right now. Why, you ask? Because of what it does for the body. Unfortunately, I can't tell you all about the benefit. You know, there's reasons. Do your due diligence and log on to ancientlifeoil.com. That's ancientlifeoil.com. Ancient Life Oil uses organic ingredients and is blended in coconut oil for some of the best benefits. Legal in 50 states and non-psychoactive. Log on to ancientlifeoil.com. That's ancientlifeoil.com.
You are listening to Fade to Black with Jimmy Church on the Game Changer Network.
Oi, oi, I'm Reese Evans. You're listening to Jimmy Church. This is Revolution. The revolution will not be televised. The revolution is on radio. Ciao.
All right, welcome back. Fade to Black. I'm your host, Jimmy Church. Our guest tonight, Rob Potter. And this portion of the broadcast is brought to you by River Moon Coffee, makers of the Fade to Black blend. It's dark, it's complex, and it's smoky. Just go to the River Moon Coffee banner right now over at jimmychurchradio.com. Use the promo code F2BBLEND. It's right there in the banner. Simple. And you're going to get 15% off of your order today. Now, back to Rob. Rob, I want to talk some Cobra. And before we jump into it, this is the first time you've been on the show, and we've never actually had a chance to talk off air, but Cobra
And the Galactic Federation, over the years, I've gotten tons of email from Cobra wanting to come on the show, the Galactic Federation and their representatives wanting to come on the show. And I could never nail down. I got email from so many different sources, right?
Right.
Yeah, I just never could figure out if I'm going to bring, that organization or Cobra on the show. I need to make sure it's the right Cobra, right?
Right.
and the right Galactic Federation. And certainly, before we continue, over the years, and probably. A number of years ago, the visibility of Cobra and the Galactic Federation was really starting to spread, and it was very visible. It seems like it has died down and gone back in the other direction. So let's address this really quick. Who is Cobra? Who is the real Cobra?
Well, first of all, Cobra and I got together because he had his website actually started on my birthday. I was posting, and he reached out to me because I have experience with Fred Bell. There's a book called The Promise by Brad Steiger, and that's based loosely. They took some of my life and made it Fred's, and I was the character Eric in that book. And it's a bit of a homogenization of fact and fiction there, which too long to go into, but he reached out to me, and I kind of vetted him. He likes to keep his voice thing. Let me say the first thing is he was, if you ever heard of a guy named Phil Schneider when he was murdered?
Of course.
There was a group of contacts that were going to be murdered, and Cobra was supposed to be one of them, and he escaped with the help of some of the resistance movement members and was given strict protocols on how to protect himself. So he had his own experiences and was taken in the solar system to, I'm not sure the Jupiter portal, but the Pleiadians gave him a good training, and he was actually on the moon in one of the bases and looking at the Earth, and he's had a lot of experience. So let me just say, he's been asked to share some of the more technological aspects of the information. Like Fred, he's pretty comfortable in some of these advanced metaphysical technologies. So they asked him to make posts about certain things. And of course, let me just say, when anyone comes out there on this stuff, things get a little culty around them. But I have to say, Cobra handles it quite well. He does not take any personal adulation, and the only people that see him are the ones that go to his workshop. So there's always a question. I said, well, can't the cabal come and, if they want to take you out, go to the workshop? And, he says he has protection and stuff there, but in order to keep the information on the message and not on his personality, he's chosen to remain anonymous. The word Cobra stands for compression breakthrough, which is well known in the Bible about an event that's supposed to take place, and they call it the event because it doesn't have a charge of people freaking out about what it is or what it isn't. And I helped write the first, I think, 45 pages or something of a book he calls The Event. And I kept the kind of ET thing out of it, but I've been studying this my whole life, and I've always wondered, how is this going to change? Fred Bell told me, he said they're planning mass landings in 95. Well, the reptilians and some of these beings invaded in the Congo and unleashed a lot of negative programs. They upped their game in trying to take over the Earth. And this is a long political story, but you asked about Cobra. So we started contacting, and he said he wanted to do some workshops. So I was the first one to contact him because I've done them for Fred Bell. I used to organize them when I ran his company, and built the products and did all the shipping and everything. And I'd organized conferences after Whole Life Expos or in Laguna Beach is where we did them. So we organized one in Laguna Beach, and that's when I first actually physically met him. But the conference was held in the same location that Fred used to hold his things, and we went up on the hill where I knew where Fred was having his contacts very near, because I asked him about it later, and he finally said, well, yes. And I said, do you know more, but you can't tell me? Because, yeah, I'm sworn to secrecy, and I can't tell you. It's for your own safety. And Fred used to talk about the, quote, veil and all that kind of stuff. So as goes with the internet, a lot of people talking about what they don't know and making prognostications about others. Many people are being contacted. And I want to go back to Dr. Frank for a second. After the governments refused the offer, they started taking it to the general populace. And in fact, they had already anticipated possibilities, and many different groups of extraterrestrials were coming to Earth for the first time or had been here before, were being prepared for contacts if they were ready and their life reached a certain thing. Everyone has free will. And some people remain silent. Some people work in technology and never come out. Some people are meant to come out. Some people don't. So there's a whole, let's say, fifth columnist of Earthlings of good standing who are helping to bridge the gap over the silence secrecy group that is very serious and has murdered many, many people in regards to the multiple programs they have been working with hostile syndicates of aliens to negatively affect the Earth, and Corey's talked about that as well. So basically, it's a individual situation. So I met Cobra. I have to say he's very honest. He's ethical.
You've met Cobra. You've met Cobra in person.
Yeah, several times. He came to Thailand, and we talked about the Prepare for Change, which I kind of conceived from him just talking about it. I got all this information downloaded, and so we worked on that. But Cobra's mission is to prepare people for what's called the event, which is the extraterrestrial plan to liberate the Earth from the hostile forces who are holding Earth hostage. They control the military, they control finances, they control the governments, they control religion, and they have an advanced form of mind control, which is a whole show in itself. And I have a Venusian contactee guy that recently contacted me about a month ago, and he contacts me just out of the blue every now and then. I don't get to plan it. And he said they have plans for some advanced directed energy weapons to kind of mess up a lot of people. And he mentioned for me to share with your audience that people just need to hold fast to the truth and to your own energy, and don't let any negative thoughts come into you, and be aware that you are the master of your own destiny. By controlling your thoughts, words, deeds, and actions, you can stave off these attacks. Because our mind, if we let ourselves go into negative thinking, then we become an easy tool for misinformation. So the trick is stopping your internal dialogue, like Don Juan said, through meditation and not doing. And by doing that, you will provide no food for these psychic attacks. You dwell in a relationship with all that is, or the Creator, whatever you want to call it, the Lord. And if you have a reverence and a feeling of the majesty of life, and you truly want answers, if you will, with all of your might, to invoke light into your being, into your endocrine glands, to your chakras, through your crown, and through that ancient science of yoga, which means union, or religion, which means religare, to reunite. There's a science to this, and you can invoke this light and strengthen yourself in what is called the living word of God, or the I am presence. And I don't want to get all religious on this, but this is really about personal development. This transformation that's coming on the planet isn't about, oh, the Arby's here, this guy's doing this, the president did that, and the guys are doing this. You're going to go nuts. All these people are saying stuff, and most of them don't have a clue of what they're talking about. And some of them are very well intended, and we know a lot of the bad stuff. Like they're jamming our soul light with genetically altered foods, HARP, ELF, microwaves, quintars, you know the story, loud noises, endless chemtrails, and other types of gases that are being sprayed invisibly by hostile ET forces. And the good guys are having a battle here. So there's both good guys and bad guys that are working secretly behind the scenes. And trust me, the good guys are going to win. It's the bad guys are pretty much done. It's a matter of doing it safely so that when they decide to pull the trigger and make the arrests, they will take over the radio stations, every satellite. It can be done like that. Every conventional weapon the government has as far as aircraft could be disabled in 2 minutes throughout the planet. There's no problem. But doing it by force is not the best option for the Confederation. Look, the Confederation's been around for thousands of years. And the people that are emailing you are just people who are interested in Cobra. There's no group mass emailing. He's not saying, get me on this show or that show. People are excited about his information because he's been correct about a lot of things. He talks about a technology which most of us don't know about, and we have to take certain things for granted. But in my experience of 45 years studying this stuff, he's filling in a lot of the gaps. Is he right about everything? No. He's human. Who is? Are certain things revealed to him later? Yeah. I mean, he's above me. I mean, is everything Corey says exactly true and exactly real? Probably not. David Wilcock? Probably not. We're all human. But we have to understand that the way the information is coming to us is coming through different individual and groups. Number one, some of them will conflict with each other. And that's for you to use discernment, because you have to get the overarching plan that has been in place for a long time so that you don't get too caught up in one person or one ideal. Or David Wilcock's the bomb, I'm totally into him. Or I don't like him, but Corey has all the info. Or forget Corey. Everyone needs to take a little sip of everybody and resonate it, research it. I didn't believe in mind control, Jimmy. I had to research it. There's a book called, and your people can look for it, it's called Thanks for the Memories by Susan Ford, a.k.a. Bryce Taylor, who was a mind control subject. I saw a picture of her with Joseph Mengele, his boots, when she was like 6 years old, into this ritual abuse satanic network. And she laid out all the stories. She was used as what's called a presidential model. She had sex with Charles, King Fahd, all the presidents, including Kennedy. So not all these guys were choir boys, but Kennedys realized what was happening. They didn't want to sell the planet down and decided to fight against the system. And let me tell you, Dr. Frank told me that Johnson knew about it and was in on the plot. He hated Kennedy. And he actually called, Dr. Frank was in town, and Lyndon Baines Johnson went to Secret Service to go gather Dr. Frank, and they all came and surrounded him and, said, well, the president wants to see you. He went up to the room, and he goes, where's Valiant Thor now? And he goes, I don't know. He goes, how did you get past all that security there? And he was smoking a cigar, and he had socks, and he said that he had like these garters on his socks. His feet stunk, and Dr. Frank was protected. He had many attempts on his life from Dr. Commander Valiant Thor had saved him. Let me tell you this one story. He was at McCarran Airport. He used to land and walk on the tarmac, and Dr. Frank, Commander Valiant Thor, would usually pick him up at his hotel or someplace, but there was a limousine down there, and some guys waved, "Dr. Frank," and he got in the vehicle, and he noticed it smelled like cigars, and the guys were quiet. They didn't say anything. And when they got headed out to where Valiant Thor was, as soon as they went on the wrong road, he knew there was a problem. And they got out in the middle of the desert, and they were military guys, and they said, "Get out of the car," and they kicked him to the ground, and they started to beat him up. Well, Valiant Thor and Dawn materialized on the moment, and Dawn was standing by the driver. The door was closed, and Frank told me that he reached through the door, pulled the guy out through the door, and threw him in a heap. And the two other guys that were in the back were military henchmen. And Valiant Thor took one with one hand and threw him near the other guy and grabbed the other guy and threw him. And then he raised his hand, and all the tires turned to liquid. And then all three of them disappeared. And I said, "Wow." And of course, my question was, well, where did they go? And he goes, that was my thought. And he said, Valiant Thor said, "Let's just say they've been displaced." And I said, "Well, where do you think they went?" And he said, "Probably to one of the salt mines on Pluto. The salt can draw out a lot of negativity." So that was Dr. Frank's, some of the stories. And let me tell you one more story. When Bobby Kennedy was running, Dr. Frank was living in Chatsworth, and they pulled in a limousine. This is before he was killed, like 3 days before he was killed. They pulled into Frank's cul-de-sac, and he said people were mowing the lawn. One lady was like, had a cigarette, her hair in curlers with her dog. Another guy's picking, the neighborhood just like, what the hell is this? And Bobby Kennedy got out and strode to his door. He knocked on the door. He said he was kind of short. And Dr. Frank, the first thing he opened the door was not, "Hello, Dr. Stranges, how are you? And I'd like to talk to you." He goes, "I understand you know this Valiant Thor character. Where is he now? I want to talk to him. Get him here now." And Dr. Frank said, "Well, it doesn't work that way. I really don't know where he is." Because you get him on the phone, he goes, "I don't know where he is." And he goes, "Well, and he says, "This meeting is over." And he goes, "Well, wait a minute. He says, "Okay, well, come on inside." He says, "You have to write a letter." And he goes, "I don't have time to write a letter because then you can go." I go, "Okay, I'll write a letter." So Bobby wrote a letter and put it in an envelope and left. And one of the things he said, "I want to know where Valiant Thor is. I want to know who killed my brother." And Dr. Frank said that he put the letter on his desk, and he woke up in the morning and it was gone. Sometimes Valiant Thor would appear and sometimes he holds letters to his forehead and gets it. But he told, actually, it was the very first time Dr. Frank got to go aboard the ship. Several days later, Valiant Thor picked him up and they started to drive to Mexico, to La Paz. And they got on a boat. They went out to the corner. They went around the rocks there. And there was a ship cloaked there. They opened the door, and Dr. Frank got to go on board for the very first time. And he gets in board the spaceship, and they have a magnetic field that decontaminates you, like walking through mud, kind of, but it's just the air,
right,
like a magnet pulling at you.
Right.
And he gets on his spacesuit, a gas. They go upstairs, and everyone's in the commander's quarters, and they're watching Bobby Kennedy's speech live. And Commander Valiant Thor had told him on the way down, he said, "Well, I went to meet Bobby Kennedy. I appeared at his hotel room." And he said he was very suspicious, and he turned on the radio in his room. They went into the bathroom. He turned on another radio and ran the water and had a conversation with Valiant Thor. And Valiant Thor told him, "There are forces aligned against you. In fact, your life is in danger. You will be successful if you run in 4 years. We recommend that you don't run." And he died 2 days later. And Dr. Frank was on board the ship, and they had they can look anywhere. And they were just there wasn't a TV. They were watching live on their own camera. And when he's going to get shot, Vice Commander Teal, a female, turned her head and said, "God help him." And so that's kind of the information and the abilities they have. They can't interfere too much because of free will and because of the hostage situation that Cobra talks about. I've talked a lot. I apologize. I'm going to let you ask some questions or follow up.
I'm just sitting here enjoying and listening. But I do have a question. Strange's died late 2000s. When was the last time he was in contact with Valiant Thor? Do you know?
Yeah, I was actually going up and meeting him for lunch because I just found him to be fascinating, and I was privy to do that. He allowed me to do that. And Dr. Frank was in constant contact. He said that Valiant Thor would just appear in his office sometimes. Sometimes he would, if the secretary wasn't there, he would walk into the office. He was given, when he would go on board, the doctor would look him over and make suggestions for his health. Now, they didn't interfere with his earth medicine, but when he was on board the ship, he sounded younger. He didn't have to wear glasses, and a lot of his health issues were gone. He was a member of a joint extraterrestrial and Earth-based council called the Council of 12, and there's many councils of 12. It's a standard number when making decisions, and they had various programs that they were attending to, but he had some health issues. He had an open heart surgery and couldn't walk very well and all this stuff. And the last inner circle meeting, he told me that he was in the hospital, so I did not pay my fee. And I went up to him in the hospital, and I called everyone in Las Vegas who had that inner circle transcript that he would read over the 2 days. And I got him on the phone so he could say goodbye to the people who had followed him for many years. And it was a very straight, normal kind of group. And Dr. Frank kind of talked a lot of biblical stuff about Jesus and the message and the Dead Sea Scrolls. He was told to reveal all the spaceship contacts in there, and he did that. And he said, "Rob, they told me not to preach at the meeting and just to give the information." Hallelujah.
Well, and see, that was the other thing about Frank that most people don't know. They think of Stranger in the Pentagon, right? And I get that, and they should. But he was a preacher. He had the full-on religious side of his life, and then he had the ET contact side of his life too, and trying to somehow live with them both and get them both to have the messages overlap, you know. And it's a little bit of a paradox for Stranges, but he had definite two sides to his life.
Well, you abide in the truth, and truth abides in you, and he merged them because the message of Yehoshua or Christ, there's a lot of avatars, a lot of beings that are sent here to teach humanity, and the Bible is filled with UFOs. Look at the Mormon Bible cover. It's got Jesus praying with a UFO and beams coming down on him. Look at the Bhagavad Gita and the Vedas. The Rig, Rajur, and Samaveda, I was a philosophy major, or talk about the Rishis. Those were the Pleiadians. And that information, the Indian science of yoga is a pure teaching that comes from knowledge of the subtle energy bodies and the currents. And we're just constantly dumbed down. So we're trying to reestablish these ancient teachings, and being aware of extraterrestrials as part of the Bible. A pillar of cloud by day and a pillar of night led Moses out. Right. That whole story. And a lot of UFO contactees, George Hunt Williamson, you can research him, and went to South America. There's a guy I'm in contact now. I'm going to go down and see him. We're doing a group in Bolivia. Louis Martens doesn't speak English so well, but that guy has amazing experiences. He's very loving, like Dr. Frank and Omnek, and the Venusian contacts are just smiley, happy people. They don't get into politics.
Well, let's we got to take a break right here. When we come back, I do want to take a dance around the world with you a little bit. You do a lot of traveling. But also, with the Bible, if you can insert ET or alien or UFO throughout the Bible, and it turns out to be a whole nother story, doesn't it? Our guest tonight is Rob Potter. This is Fade to Black. Stay with us.
Hi, everybody. This is Rob Halford, the Metal Guard on JimmyChurchRadio.com.
This is KGRA Digital Broadcasting Station. Salt Lake City, Utah. Van Buren, Arkansas.
Okay, nurse, let's get this man to the ER stat.
Right away, doctor.
We see this every day. Heart attack or angina pain due to blocked and clogged arteries. Chelation can remove obstructions or blockages from arteries and help avoid painful and expensive surgery. Now there's Angioprim. It's a liquid oral chelation product that you take with juice. You start to feel the results fast. Angioprim increases blood flow all over the body, and that means more energy and strength to take on the day with less aches and pains. 60 years of research has gone into chelation, and Angioprim is the result. A safe and easy way to unblock your veins and arteries from buildup that slow circulation.
Paging Dr. Jones. Please report to the emergency room right away.
Log on now for a special radio offer from Angioprim. That's angioprim.com/radio. ANGIOPRIM. Angioprim.com/radio or call 877-882-7221. That's 877-882-7221.
So, you love talk radio? Then you'll love TalkStreamLive.com. TalkStream Live is always on, 24/7 with the best streaming talk shows. Find your favorite talkers and discover some new ones. It's free, readily available online or on any smartphone or tablet. Finding your favorite talk shows all in one place has gotten a whole lot easier. Just go to TalkStreamLive.com. Be sure to download the free apps from Google Play or the iTunes App Store.
Your contact for current news and trending topics. KGRARadio.com.
Did you know that when you're on the road with limited data or Wi-Fi available, you can still listen to every minute of Fade to Black by just calling 605-562-4482. No smartphone, app, or internet needed. It saves your data plan and no extra cost if you have unlimited minutes. Just call 605-562-4482. You can listen to me, Jimmy Church, on any phone, anytime, anywhere. Go Beckley Teppy.
Do you or a loved one suffer migraine headaches? Listen to what scientist Kurt Hendricks has to say.
35 million people in the United States suffer with debilitating migraines. If you or a loved one are one of them, you need to know about MiGrelief. Hi, I'm Kurt Hendricks, the scientist that formulated and patented the MiGrelief migraine formula. MiGrelief is a non-prescription dietary supplement recommended by neurologists, pharmacists, and pediatricians to address nutritional deficiencies in both adults and children over 2 with migraines. Try MiGrelief for 3 months and see the powerful difference it can make in your life, or get your money back, no questions asked. Go to MIG911.com or call 800-MIG-7354. You can change your life today.
So if you suffer from migraines, don't wait. Call 800-MIG-7354. That's 800-MIG-7354 or visit MIG911.com.
You want to know a secret? I love ponies. I really love ponies. I'm serious. I couldn't stay sane without ponies to brush.
Why Fade to Black? Because you never got that pony, damn
it. This is Fade to Black with Jimmy Church on the Game Changer Radio Network and KGRA, the Global Radio Alliance.
All right, welcome back, Fade to Black. I'm your host, Jimmy Church. This portion of the broadcast is brought to you by Life Change Tea. Just go to the banners right now at JimmyChurchRadio.com. It will take you straight to GetTheTea.com. Just mention Fader, Fader, either online or over the phone, and you will get yourself some free shipping. Now, before we get back to Rob, I just posted up in Twitter my new favorite band. They're called Lee Van Cleef. That's the name of the band. They're from Italy. And I've just got to say, they're like Black Sabbath without vocals. It's instrumental stuff, long form jam. It's absolutely incredible. Just go check it out after the show. Get into a trance. Lee Van Cleef, absolutely amazing. Hey Rob, I'm a big music guy, right? I talk about music all the time on this show. What did you listen to? You and I are the same age. We went through the same eras together. I'm just curious. What were you listening to in the 70s?
I love the Moody Blues, Jackson Brown, Rod Stewart, Elton John. I like the singer-songwriters, James Taylor. I did not understand heavy metal until one day I had my LSD trip and I heard Jimi Hendrix Waterfall and
yeah, that'll do it.
Deep Purple Highway Star, and I go, oh, I get it now.
I remember, this is in the mid 70s and maybe 77, and I'm at it was like a dance or some kind of thing at a teen club, right? And they had a band there, and the band played Highway Star, and I stepped back and I went, that. right there. And I totally got the whole Deep Purple thing. But yeah, I was a heavy metal kid in the 70s. Well, I still am. I'm a heavy metal kid today, but James Taylor, all the master songwriters like Jackson Brown, today when I listen to their craft and how they did it, it was songwriting. It was pure and simple. The Eagles, right? That whole
the Eagles, I love that.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm so with you on all of that. I just love, if music is good, it's just good. So
by the way, I want to say one thing. Although I did have that experience, I don't advocate massive drug use. It's not good in the long run. I think too much can go somewhere, but it was part of our culture, and I had that experience. I want to share with you one little thing before you go into your next question, was about music. Now, the Pleiadians, their spaceships, no one can steal a Pleiadian spaceship because the ship is literally living and alive and is keyed to the auric signature of the captain. So when they build their spaceships, first of all, they grow a mushroom in zero gravity in outer space, and then at a certain point in time, they inject a liquid crystal into the mushroom, and it becomes like a living, alive ship. And it's keyed into, let's call it a universal ether plasma field. And when the captain rides the ship, it does as the captain is thinking and feeling. So when you hear that woo, 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 all that sound is kind of keyed into the captain. Here's another interesting fact. When Fred went to the Pleiades and landed on the planet Lyra, he said that the spaceports were shaped like conch shells and like the Hollywood Bowl type of stuff to enhance the sound. And so it's kind of a show-off thing, not show-off, but a fun thing that they would come in and make their ship make these beautiful orchestral sounds when they land. How is that for cool?
Yeah, totally. And we keep going back to Fred Bell. Fred Bell was also into music and was writing, and he had the full studio at the house in Laguna.
Yeah, we actually had Jim Delatoso, who did the camera work for the book Contact from the Pleiades by Wendell Stevens, and Billy Meyer came over to the house, and we did some jamming. Fred had some very exotic sound waveforms there, making slaves of like 5 different synthesizers and keying off of one. It was very awesome music, and it was based on holographic sound technology, which never really completely got off the ground. But Jim Delatoso, the Palladians, contacted Fred when he was there that night and said, we're going to go out and give him his own contact. And, he was going to go and he was trying to say goodbye, and he was like, Jim was smoking cigarettes, and Fred's like, Jim, just go. You know where to go. You want your own experience. Jim was I don't know if he was afraid or stuff, but he had his own experience eventually. Jim was the guy, and this was in 82 or 83. He was the guy, he had a helmet in his hand. And I go, what is that? He goes, this is my prototype for the telemetrics. And I go, what do you mean the telemetrics? He goes, well, even then we didn't. He says, you don't really know right now, but some of the pilots and advanced pilots have these little computer screens that come over their eye, and they just look, and it runs all the equipment. This is the next level. This is no screen, no eye needed to go focus on anything. This is a telemetric device that would read your mind and run the latest aeronautics. So Jim was a very advanced technology guy, and he told me he was working on. Now you have you don't have to fill out your forms; you just stick the check in. Yes. He developed all of the reading stuff for the banks, and he's another scientific genius there that ran through Fred's house.
Yeah, he was working with Jordy Hormel and the Village, and out there in Phoenix. Very, I think he always had a vision for the future. And certainly was back when computers were just taking off, and the ability to scan photographs and study color imaging and heat signatures. Delatoso was right there at the front of it. There's no doubt about it. One of my producers, Renee, just sent me this message. She wants to know what happens to the ET spaceship if the captain dies.
That's an interesting question. I can't say I would know, but generally speaking, they don't die. If they're involved in something down here, no one else can use it. I mean, the government can have it. Now, Dr. Frank said that Valiant Thor's crew, they landed and they gave spaceships at Edwards Air Force Base when he went to the dental thing.
Right. In
they
in
did
Palm
a movie
Springs
about it called Strange Science, with the kid supposedly finding the thing. With anyway, he said that when they put it in kind of like a neutral zone, so you could push it around. One person could move the spaceship, and he said when it was there, Eisenhower was standing in front of it, and they blinked it so you couldn't see it. And they said he had a minor heart attack, actually.
Right. Heard the story. Now, before I don't want to run out of time here. I do want to.
You want to go around the world.
Yeah, you travel a lot. You're on your way to Bolivia. But before we get to Bolivia, which is a very interesting place, let's talk a little bit about Egypt. Why is it so special for you?
Well, for me, I've always had a fascination with the pyramids, and I first went there in 1990. I think it was the first 91. I think I took a group called Power Places Tours, and I arranged a UFO. We took Zachariah Sitchin and Howard Menger, the High Bridge, New Jersey incident where Valiant Thor's picture was taken.
Right.
We took some UFO people, and we did this beautiful tour inside all the pyramids and go around the Sphinx, and then we took a cruise down the Nile and went to all these different places and learned a lot of the lore and the history that was there. But all of this place known as Egypt was actually one of the first centers where the forces of light tried to reestablish the teachings after one of the falls of Atlantis. Fred claimed that the Great Pyramid is 76,000 years old. Now, there have been salt crystals and evidence that showing it to be 26,000. And I don't know, I can imagine this can be debated, but the Great Pyramid itself was connected to another location called Saqqara. And there's all kinds of ET'd underground labyrinths there where you would be trained in various metaphysical techniques to control your mind. And there's a giant sarcophagi there where you would go in there with very little air for 3 days. And if you passed all these tests, you'd go about 40 miles in this underground tunnel and you'd come up underneath the pyramid. And there was water there, and people would try to dissuade the initiates. Oh, they're out to kill you. They're jealous of your power. And there was supposedly some crocodiles in there. They were always well fed, and they'd see how you'd go into fear. Then they'd flood one of the chambers, and if you panicked, they'd let it water down. But if you relaxed and let it get to the top, then a door would open, and you'd go into the next level. There are 7 chambers located like a kundalini on the spine of various rooms where various initiations took place. And what people should know is the Great Pyramid itself had many functions, but one of the main functions was an energy device. And I'll tell you some of the things, how the energy worked. Now, Wardenclyffe that Tesla built, the standing wave technology, a more modern version, always had to have water. And so the Great Pyramid also had water at the base. In the Grand Gallery, there was a tank, and there's like tread marks for a tank. It was a modern day high technology equipment. And it would go along the Grand Gallery, which had lots of precious stones, which were later removed. And so this device would resonate to the cosmic energies of the universe and would provide energy into the king's chamber and the queen's chamber were intimately associated because those roofs, the roof of those rooms, both would raise and lower with the capacitance of the natural energies. It worked on the piezoelectric effect of the limestone. It worked on a thermocoupling from the marble outer shell that was there, and the rotation of the earth, the moon, everything was combined. And the Great Pyramid was a generator station. And it wasn't so long ago that if you were inside of the Great Pyramid, you would have a Wi-Fi receiver, not microwave, but a completely harmless reception that you could gather energy from the pyramid. And the capstone was a solid gold capstone on there. They stripped the marble years ago, and you can still find some of it there. But the secret chambers in there were very powerful, and it was open to the public until the time of Christ. And when Yeshua went in there for his initiation, they sealed it up, and I think it was 989 years later, they found their way in, and there's still rooms they don't know. That guy Zawi Hawass was a cabal criminal. They stole a lot of information, and they're keeping a lot of secrets there. A guy named J.J. Hurtak, who wrote the book Keys of Enoch, I spent time with him at the Bosnian Pyramid there, and he told me that he showed them where Osiris' tomb is. There's a river under there. Lots of stuff will be revealed, as Dr. Frank promised us. There are ancient record and chambers all around the earth, including Sedona, Arizona, one of the first contact points of the Venusians over 200,000 years ago, will be brought forward at the right time with technologies and records proving what took place. And at a certain point in time in our future, when humanity has kind of gone through its shock and awe and fear and everything's calmed down, we'll probably be able to see the Akashic records of various things that took place, perhaps of the criminal activities of the Cabal. Their activities, as horrible as they are, may be revealed to us so that we can understand and grasp the level of wool thickness that's been pulled over our eyes, and how we've been allowed ourselves to be misled.
Yeah, there's
magnificent.
Well, there's no question about. Sorry, I'm going to jump in really quick. There's no question about Egypt and what is going on at Giza. As you walked around there for the first time, and there's no hieroglyphics, there's nothing there, and you're looking at these amazing structures, and then you go down the Nile and you're able to go to Luxor or Karnak. You went to Saqqara. And you travel to these different sites where you see the hieroglyphics everywhere, and you see the difference, the dichotomy between the other sites around Egypt and Giza. Do you feel like we have been lied to, that there is something else going on at Giza, that it just may not be Egyptian at all, and it's rather painfully obvious?
Well, look, first of all, the Ankh was, and you can see that they're built by the Atlanteans or ETs. They had elongated heads. They had a little thing that came up to their mouth and gave them like a steam bath of copper. And what they could do with these Ankh, they would hold it and they could put it to a stone and make the stone 10 pounds, 50 pounds, 100 pounds. I think they made it like 25 pounds so it wouldn't just go spinning and get out of control. But there would be one Atlantean and two workers would push it into place. There was no manual labor. That's all hogwash. So there was a technology that built a lot of the pyramids. Now, there are some stories that the Great Pyramid was manifested by an act of will, but I don't really know, and I think these mysteries will come forward. I have to say, I was shown the famous hieroglyphics, this is in 91, that look like a tank, a modern-day plane, and I asked the guy, I said, this wasn't made recently? He said, no, these are real. So they had like some prophetic ones. But you get to Karnak, and in many of the temples there, we have the Jesuits to thank for that. They had teams of Jesuits for like 30 years on ladders with chisels blanking out all of the information and the stories of ET contact and extraterrestrial stuff. So that was done whenever that was done.
Right.
That's been hidden.
We're approaching the end of the show here, Rob, and I wanted you to share with us the latest communication with Cobra and the message to our audience and to the world and to our planet. And where are we with that today?
Well, Cobra is very careful not to say any dates. He's an expert in explaining the veil of the technologies that keep us kind of in a semi-mind control state. We're triggered, we get upset, our families break up. So he shares that. He tells the information that it's very important for us to remain calm. Don't get so involved with the political stuff. He has insider stuff that he talks about, that he has his own contact source. It's telepathic. I revealed that he's a male. He's a normal guy. He has a girlfriend, and I'll just say he's very ethical, very honest, sincere. I found him to be very stand-up and straight. We have some, differing views on things, I think, because he doesn't reveal a lot. He keeps a lot of things close to the vest and secret. Some things he reveals something and I go, well, hell, I knew about that in 82. I don't know why it was so secret, but he has his reasons and I respect them. If you want to have him on the show, he'll come on, but he needs to be modulated.
Yeah, that's what he said.
Yeah. Oh, you actually talked to him?
Yeah. I have, I have my look. I respect his reasons for wanting to do that, but for here on this show, I think transparency is paramount. And so if we can't, there's no way to meet in the middle here, right?
Yeah, I hear you. Coast to Coast had the same thing, and it's all right.
Yeah, I would love to have him on the show. It's just that it needs to be all or nothing, and for him it needs to be all or nothing. So we're kind of stuck, right? And
yeah, it's all good. It doesn't matter. Life goes on. The world can survive without one more Cobra interview. He's doing sharing his stuff. He's very consistent, and he doesn't talk negative about other people he doesn't know or question. He says, "I can't confirm that," or he doesn't know. His sources don't indicate that. Let me make something clear. One of his contacts is from Planet X. So let me explain Planet X. Planet X has a very long elliptical orbit. It takes 850 days for one of their years. So it's 3 times farther away from the sun from us, and it has methane gas all over its surface. The people live on the interior, as do most people throughout the universe and the galaxy live on the interior of the planet. Our planet is very unique and has a very lively, rich, it's one of the most beautiful planets around because of its powerful life force that regenerates and creates so much beauty here, even though our attempts to destroy it are mad. So that planet was under the control, like we are, of this dark kind of negative energy that basically is, it's like a bully in a kindergarten room, and they're taking over the teacher spot and running everyone, and no one, it's happened so long that everyone forgets. They shortened our lifespan. We've got, 80 years to figure it out. You start to figure it out, and then you're dead.
Right.
So we have that going against us, and so basically, they all knew what was happening. And as soon as the opportunity came, they battled the reptilians, the Andromedan Force, and they liberated their planet. And they knew the nature of this group is, they come and go. They'll evacuate, and they'll come back in 300 years and try to take it over again. So they wanted them kicked out of the solar system, so they petitioned the Confederation and the Alliance, the different ET groups that are observing our situation and doing their best to raise our awareness and to help us throw off this hostile force. And they said, yeah, you can come in. And they came in, and they've lost a lot of people in these battles. But according to Cobra, many of these negative underground bases and forces have been overcome and kicked off the planet. Now, he maintains that there is a very exotic top quark technology that works what's called a toplet bomb, which could destroy the planet. And they have to be very careful with that. So it's part of the hostage removal situation that when this liberation comes, it's not meant to be a bloody revolution with people fighting in the streets and we're free and death. It's meant to be like, basically, you turn off the electric mind control panel, provide positive information, flood the planet with positive healing technologies, clear up the air with those ships going up and down, and share the truth and buttress it with lots of contactees have been taken off and living in other planets will come back and share their information, and the ground crew gets to meet. We don't know. All we can do, from my perspective, with my experience, I know that these things are coming, and it's just a matter of patience. I mean, the stuff in Bolivia, we can save for another show. It's amazing down there. Lake Titicaca, the Island of the Sun, Machu Picchu, and the contacts that happen down there are very relevant and very much actually connected with the Venusians. And you can read about that on my website, too, if you're interested. But I thank you for having me on here. It's been an honor and a pleasure.
Yeah, thank you so much, Rob. And safe travels to Bolivia. And when you get back, let's get you back on the show. Way too much to cover. Tonight, we just kind of did a lot of a little, right? We just went across the board. And like I said, safe travels. When you get back, we'll get you back on the show.
Well, thank you so very much, and victory to the light, and thank you all for listening.
Yeah, thank you so much, Rob. All the best. And again, safe travels. Now, Rob's links for The Promise Revealed are over at jimmychurchradio.com. Go to the book section. He's got those 2 free downloads for you. Go and check that out, and everything else that Rob has over on his website. Rob Potter, everybody. Safe travels to Bolivia. This is Fade to Black. I'm your host, Jimmy Church. I'll be right back. Open up the phone lines and have all of the news that you know absolutely nothing about next.
Vivica Fox here, and you are listening to my boy, Jimmy Church, on jimmychurchradio.com.
Despite popular opinion, reading a book will not make you smarter. But listening to Jimmy Church will.
So you went to dinner last night, you had your favorite pasta. Ugh. Or maybe you had a heavy, spicy meal and it left you. Ugh. Get the tea.com. Maybe you mowed down a huge steak and your plumbing is all plugged. Ugh. Get the tea.com. Our super strength tea will take care of your occasional. Ugh. It's all organic and non-GMO. Get rid of ugh. We have so many great supplements, but our super tea is number one. GetTheT.com. That's GetTheT.com.
So, you love talk radio? Then you'll love TalkStreamLive.com. TalkStream Live is always on, 24/7 with the best streaming talk shows. Find your favorite talkers and discover some new ones. It's free, readily available online or on mobile with any smartphone or tablet. Finding your favorite talk shows all in one place has gotten a whole lot easier. Just go to TalkStreamLive.com. Be sure to download the free apps from Google Play or the iTunes App Store.
When you take the beans from Central America with dashes of Indonesian and African mixed in and then roast it to the dark side of fade to black, you create the ultimate brew of fringe. Introducing the Fade to Black blend from Rivermoon Coffee. Yes, Rivermoon's darkest customized roast was created for the love of Fade to Black. The alchemy of masterful roasting and smoking the beans is in every sip of this full-bodied, dark Java. I need my coffee dark, deep, with distinct bittersweet chocolate highlights, just like the bunker. Leaning further into the darkness of the roast is Fade to Black blend from Rivermoon Coffee. Just click on the banner at jimmychurchradio.com and use the promo code F2BBLEND for 15% off of your order today. Go Beckley Teppy. What's up, Fadernauts? Studio Dome loves Fade to Black and the F2B audience so much that they have put together the ultimate stereo Bluetooth system. They've done it just for you. Man, check this out. The Studio Dome SBB2 stereo system is here. It's featuring 2 Studio Boombox 2 SBB2 wireless Bluetooth speakers, packed in its own custom hardshell case. This Studio Dome system features the very latest in stereo Bluetooth technology. The 2 full-range boomboxes are in true wireless stereo. You've got to hear this. It's amazing. It's just $129 and use the promo code JCRTWS and you'll also get free shipping. It's simple. Just go to jimmychurchradio.com, click on the Studio Dome banner. Go Beckley Teppy.
Erica, Brittany, Gabby, and you're listening to jimmychurchradio.com.
It's not a lifestyle we chose. We were born this way. KGRAradio.com.
This is KJCR at JimmyChurchRadio.com.
All right, welcome back. Fade to Black. Thank you, Rob Potter. Amazing conversation, man. 40 years, 1975, Dr. Fred Bell. Oof, man, alive. Rob Potter, absolutely amazing. On his way to Bolivia, and you know he's going to come back with some stories. And just amazing. Safe travels, Rob. Now, opening up the phone lines, 323-825-5045 or 323-275-9695. We have so many things that are happening right now, all at the same time. Of course, we have the Nazca Mummy and this opening on the top of ESETI and disclosure and just so many things happening just all at once. It's almost overwhelming, but it's exciting times, and I think we're right there, man. We're right at the brink. And just like I said, to have Congress or the House today with NASA go off into that direction was pretty amazing. It just makes you wonder, doesn't it? Now, I want to get to some of the news that you know absolutely nothing about. There's some crazy stuff going on, and I'll wait for the phone calls to start to come in. Again, 323-825-5045 or 323-275-9695. And let me get everything activated. Well, okay, let's go here. And I'm not quite getting to the news just yet. Okay, if you're on hold, stay right there. I'll get to you in just a bit. A witness has reported a bright cylindrical object in the skies over Ottawa recently, and the report was filed in the database of MUFON and published on July 11th. Now, it's the third sighting above Ottawa in the last 2 weeks. What's going on up in Canada? I bring it up all the time, but what is going on up there? If you were in or around Ottawa and you saw this cylindrical object or anything else up in the skies, our good friends to the Great White North, call into the show. I do want to hear from you. Also, a Canadian diamond mining company may be forced to cut its prized diamond after failing to find a buyer at Sotheby's last summer. But the firm's executives are biding their time before making a decision. Now, check this out. Lucara Diamond Corporation had hoped, are you ready? The 1,109 carat stone. It's the size of a softball. Only the second of its size ever discovered would be snapped up by some ultra-rich collectors, but the bidding failed to surpass the $70 million reserve price, the minimum price wanted by the seller and would only accept. In May, Lucara sold a 373-carat rough diamond to a luxury jeweler, Graf Diamonds, for a reported $17.5 million. The stone had been part of this Lasady Larona, that's what they're calling this huge diamond, but it became separated during the recovery process. So in other words, the diamond was originally, are you ready for this? Nearly 1,500 carats. That's absolutely amazing. Let's go to the phones. Hi, you're live on Fade to Black. Who's calling?
Hi, Jimmy. This is Nathan.
Hi, Nathan. How are you?
I'm doing fine. I was calling in regards to the show, and I guess my main point is if you have something like the Pleiadians, which I guess most people, I would assume is like a Nordic type.
Okay.
Which I've had encounters with. I've had encounters with blonde extraterrestrials, and I've basically learned you can't trust them either.
Why?
Well, for one thing, anything that's not human is going to have a different thought process. But these things have been, I've called before and shared stories, but I've had contact my whole life, and I've had what could be considered positive contact at times, but ultimately it still seems like we're still an experiment or something.
Yeah, it could be. I would love to get to the bottom of it and find out actually what's going on, not only for myself, but for everybody. I think that there are enough experiences out there and enough contact out there. There's enough sightings and video out there that we all know that there is something going on. What the message is, we don't know. The ability to deceive certainly would be there too as well. Not only because of technology, but because we're just gullible here on planet Earth too. And we don't know what could be truth or not.
Right. Some of these beings have virtual reality technology and holographic technology that's beyond comprehension. They can make you believe you're in a situation with other people.
Yeah, that's exactly the point, isn't it? And the more that we have people call into this show with their experiences, the knowledge that they have acquired throughout their lifetimes, and listening to the guest on this show, like Rob said, he was definitely stating what I try to drive home all the time. Take little sips of everybody, right? Just little sips, and continue down your path. That's all you have to do. You can't take if one single person knew everything, I think that is completely dangerous. Completely. You cannot put your faith all into one person. You cannot. We do not know exactly the truth. Do you remember when Giorgio Tsoukalos was last on the show a couple of months ago? And he said something that profoundly moved me. And I've quoted him so many times. He said one thing. He said, look, man, we don't know everything. And the truth is, when the definitive moment comes, when E.T. lands and steps off and starts telling us what's really going on, we're going to find out quickly that we know nothing, that all of us, everybody, has been completely wrong. And you really kind of have to look at it like that. I mean, how can we even relate to it? And I can't wait for that moment, And until then, what do we have? We have you and your experiences. We have me with mine and other callers and video and contact and sightings and all of those things. And let's try to put it all together and figure it out. Are they all good? Probably not. Are they all bad? Probably not. Are they a lot like us? Probably so. The universe is a very, very simple situation. The planets, the chemistry that is out there, it's the same everywhere. It's not unique here to Earth. So if life out there has started, it has started with the same basic things that we have here. And how advanced they get and how much older they are than us, well, that's something that we need to find out. But are we all similar? Could be. We don't know. We honestly don't know, Nathan. And I want to thank you for the phone call, my friend. Great, great, great question, and I really appreciate it.
All right. Thank you, Jamie.
Yeah, thank you, Nathan. Great phone call. And it's really true, too. When it comes to history, legend, mythology, and the references over thousands of years, hundreds of years to thousands of years of tricksters, it makes you just kind of wonder, right? And we know nothing, Sergeant Schultz. Absolutely. Is this when you have stories of little people or beings or ghosts or leprechauns or fairies or tricksters or gnomes, and all of the, they are rooted in something somewhere. And when it comes to the trickster, it's like a warning to us in life in general. Be careful, right? You may see the most angelic, beautiful being, male, female, whatever. And when you see that, you're immediately into trusting mode. And that's probably the one you don't want to trust. You want to trust the ugly dude. Right? That's probably who's telling you the truth. Always something to think about. Let's stay on the phones. I'm having fun. Hi, you're live on Fade to Black. Who's calling?
Hello, Mr. Jimmy Church.
I knew it was you, Steve. I just want to hear you say hello, Mr. Jimmy Church. How are you, man?
Jimmy,
Great.
The truth will taste so good to us because we have been fed nothing but a diet of lies.
Ain't that the truth? Right? Ain't that the truth? That's probably the way it's going to go down. It'll be the first dose of honesty we've had in modern history in the last 70 years, right?
It'll be mind-blowing, Jimmy. It'll probably be too much for a lot of people to not just comprehend, but to handle.
I think it'll be a serious dose of relief. Right? I mean,
absolutely. That's what I'm saying. It would taste so good to those of us that know that it's been all lies for so long and so much deception for so long. I mean, this has been nothing but pure BS for, close to 100 years now, Jimmy.
Yeah, close to 100 years, and the obvious is the obvious. So it just has to be said, which is we have two basic questions that we have had since we've been walking upright, okay? What happens when we die? Are we alone in the universe? Right? Those are the two questions. And we still haven't quite figured out either of them. Well, you have. You figured out one pretty well.
I believe I've got one of them down.
You got one of them down. And then, here we are today with all of this technology. Mark D'Antonio was talking about this last night, and it's such an honest observation. Here we are today. We have a lot of technology now. We have gone great strides in the last 20, 30 years. I mean, huge amounts of strides with Hubble and radio telescopes and telescopes and astronomy and just every physics. Just amazing. We are able to start to answer questions down to the atomic level that we've never been able to do before. But with all of that, we still don't know where we come from. We don't have a clue. We don't know why we are here. We don't have a clue. With all the science that we have, right? And we don't know where we are going. It's mind-blowing. And science wants to avoid those three questions. Right? They just do.
Every day. That's the one question that I lose the most sleep about, Jimmy, is the purpose of humanity. That's the one thing that keeps me awake, is that one question. And what is our purpose for being here?
Do you think we would get those answers from E.T., or do you think E.T. and their advancedness, right, a billion years in front of us, 20,000 years in front of us, with intelligence and so forth. Do you think that they figured it out?
I don't, because I think that it's more of a spiritual enlightenment that we have to experience. I think that we to get where we are meant to go and meant to have a true purpose, we have to follow this brick road. and this is part of the brick road.
Wouldn't it be funny, right? E.T. lands, right? And okay, ask us anything, right? We have an AMA, right? We have an AMA with E.T. And, somebody raises their hand. So, why are we here? I don't know. Right? Where do we go? I don't know. What's our purpose? Well, we're trying to figure that out too.
It's just, that's the one question that really confuses me and keeps me up the most.
Right.
But I really think of the most.
I don't think it's ever going to go away, but exciting times, man. Exciting times.
Right.
If
we're getting closer and closer.
Yeah, we are. Yeah, there's no question about
Wouldn't
it.
it have been so cool, though, Jim, if you could have seen a craft come out of the mountain? If you would have had a picture of that door opening and something coming out of the mountain?
Yeah, that would have been nearly too much to handle. If, I think it's more of a drip, drip, drip thing. What's going on up there? I don't know. Is it some kind of volcanic tube? It could be. Is it natural? Is it just a cave? I don't know why it hasn't been exposed in the past. In all of the historic photos that we have looked at, we have, I think we're closing in on 300, 400,000 views now on YouTube. I'm not sure, but, pretty extraordinary number for just a few days up on the web. And, but the same question keeps coming up there, that it's, it looks like it's shadows, but it's not. There's no overhang. There's nothing there to create a shadow. So it is definitely an opening. The trippy thing is that opening appeared on a mountain that has had the most extraordinary sightings for the last 30 years. Going back before that, but certainly documented over the last 30 years. If that thing would have opened and something would have come out of that door, well, I'd have had a heart attack. I wouldn't be here right now on the air. I mean, it would have been too much. It would have, it's just, I'm just glad we found it. And we're going to get something up there.
I'd have been jumping for joy. I'd have been like, Jimmy finally got it. Jimmy got it.
Well,
Jimmy got it.
See, and there were so many other things that were happening at the same time up there that were so much fun. It's such a magical place, Steve. It's just, I don't know what it is. If it's, some type of geological thing with the rocks under the ground. Is there something moving and causing EM things and maybe portals? Because this whole question of seeing orbs, which I saw with my own eyes, right? Stone cold sober, as sober as life can be, and I'm watching a giant gray, flat, two-dimensional orb form on the far side of that it's just like, wait a minute here, right? So all of these things are going on at the same time, indicating that it's a magical place. But to top it all off, I mean, to take everything over the top, was that Friday night of UFO activity directly over the ranch. I mean, I'm not talking about little things moving around up in the sky. I'm talking about craft flying overhead, flaring up like a blinding magnesium underwater flare, changing colors, going overhead, and then flying. It's like, wait a minute here. So all of these things were going on at the same time. If one of those craft would have flown over us, flared up, and flown into that hole on the mountain, oh man, no, too much. Way too much. Baby steps.
I'd love to just have one of them just put the landing gear down, sit down in front of you, and just somebody just come out and say, who wants to take a ride?
Yeah, I know. Look, look, let me tell you something. That was discussed many times there. It was just like everybody was like, okay, what's next? Where are we going next with this? Is something going to land out here in this field? I mean, that's where we were. That was the frame of mind where we were at. It was just what could possibly occur? I mean, what could possibly top what has been going on here? It was like that, man. It was pretty extraordinary.
Here's the ultimate question, though, Jimmy. I don't know how many people were there, 50, 100, or whatever.
Yeah.
But or more. What let's say a craft does land, okay, and someone walks out and says, "We can only carry 5," and we can take a short little ride around Saturn if you want to, but we can only carry 5. Who wants to come?
Oh, man. Ooh.
I mean, it would be like a bar fight trying to, if I'm there.
Yeah, it would have been a bar fight. It would have been a bar fight. Well, first off, because only 3 would have been able to go, because Rita and I would be on the ship first. Okay, so that's...
Yeah, well, I'm right there with it. It'd been like me leaving, that house that was hot when I seen the ghost apparition.
Yeah.
That's what it would have been like. Me, plowing through people to get on the ships.
It would have been like that. There's no doubt, because the question of whether we are alone, I think that part's been answered. But the opportunity like that if presented, if I'm allowed to come back, then I jump on the ship. I want to be able to come back and share the experience and my family, my dogs, and everything else. But if I have to leave and never come back, well, then I got to take Rita with me. So, that's
yeah, as long as I get to take somebody with me,
right? Right.
Preferably your wife. But now, what if they tell you that you got to go for? You can come back, but you're going to be gone for 6 months.
Yeah.
But you got to go by yourself. Where are you going?
Well, see, we have to look at, if we take Einstein into play and we start to look at light speed and physics and stuff, or maybe even faster than light speed travel, and we're dealing with speed of light and time travel. Now, if you go out and come back, and even if it's for a year or 6 months for you. Going out and coming back, I think everybody here on planet Earth, when you come back, would be dead, right? So you got to think about it like that. So you wouldn't come back and share the experience with your family. You're going to come back and share the experience with people from the future, right? So do you want to come back? Do you want to come back knowing that everybody that you loved is no longer here? Right? You got to take that part into consideration. So I don't know. You would have to go. Jimmy, I still got to take the ride.
You
take the ride?
I still got to punch that ticket.
Yeah.
Got to punch that ticket.
Yeah, you kind of got to, don't you?
There's just too many. There's just too many. In my mind, there's just too many questions that I need answered.
Do you take a video camera? And what
sure
do you? What about
the possibilities are there? You take what if they're allowing you to take whatever. I'm sure. Yeah, take a video. Anything. Something to document your time there. But I'm sure after that time span that you come back, and let's just say you're gone for a year there, and you come back and it's 100 years in the future. Hopefully, I pray to the good Lord above that by then disclosure has already happened.
Now, we've got 1 minute left, Steve. So think about this quick. You go and you come back and you bring back something from there. What do you bring back?
I want one of those suits.
Yeah, there you go.
One of those
best answer.
Fitted suits. I want one of those fitted suits. Damn it, Jimmy.
Yeah,
That's
do.
What I want.
And you want one with the tag that says "Made in Zeta Reticuli," right? It's got to have the tag. Me, I think I'm coming back with like a TV dinner. Right? I want to go to the grocery store, go through and get a bag of alien cookies, and bring that back. That would be my proof. Hey, Steve, I got to go, man. Thank you so much, my friend. Great phone call as always.
Jimmy, brother, as always. Thanks for the time.
Steve from Bluefield, everybody. What a way to end the show. Great conversation tonight. Another fader night. Another Fade to Black is in the can. Fade to Black's executive producers, Rita Kamarian. Show is produced by Hilton J. Paul, Mark D. Kovar, LJ3, Renee Jonas. Thank you, Dennis. Thank you, Bob. Announcers are Steve Harder, Gene Vito, and Mark D. Kovar. Fady by Dale, Webmaster Drew the Geek, music Doug Aldrich, intro Spaceboy, spaceboymusic.com. Fade to Black is produced by KJCR for the Game Changer Network, and syndication is KGRA, The Planet. Thank you, Rob Potter. His links are over at jimmychurchradio.com. Go and click, go get those free books. This broadcast is only copyrighted 2017 by Fade to Black and the Game Changer Network. It cannot be rebroadcast, downloaded, copied, or used anywhere in the known universe without written permission from Fade to Black or the Game Changer Network. I'm your host, Jimmy Church. Tomorrow night, Bernard Gunther, right here on Fade to Black. Until then, everybody follow me on Twitter at JChurchRadio. Everybody be safe. Go Backley Tappy.